Okay. Hi. So I don't really know how to start this. So you're either already subscribed to my YouTube channel, in which this is a very different from my usual content, or you're coming here from my Instagram post, in which case, hi, yes, I have a YouTube channel. So the reason why I'm making this video is because one of my creations has basically outgrown its previous medium. Basically, I created an outfit for Pride, and I wanted to go more into it and talk a little bit more about the detail, and there just isn't enough room on Instagram in order to really get into the detail that I want to, you know? Like, I can't make 8 paragraphs talking about the thought process and the design. That's just not the platform for it. But YouTube can do that. So, here we are. Let's get into it. So, I made an outfit for Pride this year. Now, you might be thinking, isn't Pride Month over? And, well, technically yes, but Pride Month is every month. However, the place that I live in New York, there was a Pride celebration today, July 2nd. So it's a little bit late, but it's close enough. And I had been working tirelessly throughout all of June to get this outfit ready for this event. I have some photos and you can find them on my Instagram, but I'll also flash up some photos here if I can be bothered to edit it in. And the thing is, I put a lot of effort and detail into this, and I wanted to go more into it. So let's start from the bottom up. So I had the idea for the general silhouette from the beginning, but I didn't really have an idea as to what it all meant. So the deeper meaning behind the ideas, you know, the connotations or the subconscious influences, they didn't really manifest until I had, started the project. And as I went along, I realized that this piece had a lot more to it than I initially might have anticipated. So I knew that I wanted to include a cape. It's really hard to find a place to start with explaining it, but basically, God, there's just so much going on that it's really hard to explain how it all comes together. I knew that I wanted a cape, but I didn't know what color I wanted to make it, and I didn't know what shape. I knew I wanted it to be original. I wanted it to be something that you don't see often, you know? I wanted it to be like a unique either shape, a unique silhouette, a unique color or design. I wanted to play around with it because, being queer, being gay, being non-binary is all about breaking down these imagined perceived barriers. So I feel like that translates into fashion as well, and design elements, where I wanted to do something that was out of the box, something that you don't really see very often. And then the intersection of several ideas at once resulted in a flash of inspiration. I decided I was struggling for a while also with the color scheme because there's a lot of different colors that I wanted to be using. I'll get into this later, but one of the elements that I'm using is a jacket that I have already used previously. It has red flowers on the back that I had sewn, so I already have to have red incorporated into this, even if I didn't necessarily want it or would have chosen it. However, I kept it, so that meant that whatever elements I picked for the jacket had to work with red. And okay, also the jacket itself was black, so you have a black jacket with red roses, so you have to work around what's already existing there. So, okay. And then it's like, well, what colors do I want to use in order to work around that? And I had recently picked up a book at the library that was about a lot of different protest media and a lot of different posters and imagery used associated with protest and rebellion and uprising. And in one of the chapters, it covered the AIDS pandemic in the US in the 80s. And that was where I rediscovered ACT UP. So for those who don't know, ACT UP was an organization in the 80s that formed as a response to the government's negligence and dragging of their feet in the response to protecting those affected by the outbreak of HIV and AIDS. So gay people were disproportionately affected by this pandemic. What resulted was a massive wiping out of the gay population in America. Like, upwards of 80% of gay people would suffer or be horribly impacted or killed due to AIDS complications. And ACT UP formed as a way to raise awareness of the pandemic that was plaguing the community, and as a way to call out the government's negligence and their lack of action and response. So ACT UP's symbol was the inverted pink triangle, because the pink triangle had been used as a way to mark gay men in concentration camps during World War II. By inverting the triangle, they took this symbol of oppression and turned it into one of rebellion and advocacy. When I had heard about ACT UP before, and I was familiar with the pink triangle imagery and what it meant to the community. So when I rediscovered it in this context, I realized I want to do something with this. So I decided that the cape shape would be an inverted pink triangle. Would be an inverted triangle with pink themes. Okay, so now I have a jacket, and now I have the idea for a cape. Wonderful. So if I'm going to use the color pink, then I decided, well, why not lean into it? If we're turning this piece into a form of advocacy and a form of awareness, a performance with a purpose, then let's go for it. Let's lean into it. I decided that if I was going to use pink, that determined my color scheme. And I decided that this piece was going to be dedicated to raising awareness surrounding trans issues and current struggles against the trans community. I wanted the piece to be celebratory of what makes our community beautiful: ingenuity, passion, creativity, bravery. However, something didn't feel quite right with being purely happy and being purely celebratory because of such dark events that have come to pass and the darkness of the history that has plagued an oppressed community. So, while a part of me wants to celebrate what is beautiful, another part of me feels as though I want to honor the struggles of both the past and the present. Which is how I came to the idea of having both the beautiful and the bright and the vivid flower imagery, but also a darker, more somber imagery in the same piece of work. And I thought that this worked well because I was working with a black jacket, so already you have a dark color. And I thought, okay, I can work with this, I can work around this. So if we're working with the floral theme, I decided to once again lean into that and go from there. I wanted to extend it to an earthy theme. Originally I was going to use black pants, but then I was just going to use black dress slacks, but then once I realized that I wanted to do more of an earth motif, I had the brilliant idea of, hey, why don't I use the brown corduroy pants in my closet? And the brown pants can represent the bark of a tree. Like 2000 IQ moment. Okay. And then I went further with that and I was like, hey, if the pants are gonna be the tree bark, why not have the boots be the grass? So I decided, okay, if I can find them, I will use some green boots. So that's how we came to have the green boots, the brown pants, and then the jacket. Following with the color scheme of the trans flag, I wanted to incorporate the colors blue, pink, and white for the flowers. You know, playing around, seeing what worked where, I ultimately decided to go with blue on the boots, and then white flowers for the leg of the tree bark, and then also white across the torso, where I was going to have a corset and a binder. And then the pink would also be along the cape with petals that were falling. And then also there was going to be blue once again on the shoulders of the jacket. And to top it all off, a giant hat with pink flowers on it blooming. So the general kind of theme is that, like, I am a tree blooming. A tree coming into bloom from seeds planted in the past. You know, honoring those that came before us and their sacrifice and their suffering, while acknowledging ours too and celebrating the beauty that is our strength as a community and individuals. That is the general concept behind it. And I think projects like these are especially important in these days, because with so many steps back that are being taken, everyone fights differently. Everyone internalizes trauma differently. Everyone responds to calamity differently. Some people will write letters to Senate, some people will make guides on Instagram, and some people become walking pride flags to raise awareness. We all have our strengths and we all have our ways that we can contribute to the conversation and make our voices heard. And this is mine. The night the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, I couldn't sleep. I was restless. I was spiraling. It was a dark time. I was also coming off of having COVID, so I really was just, I was not in a good headspace. But for me, when things like that happen, that trigger my anxiety about the world and the future, having a physical, tangible project I can work on, it helps. So the night that I learned about the Roe v. Wade decision was the night that I added the silence equals death motif to the cape. Because it matters to me that we speak up. To me, being strong is being loud. Because I know what it's like to be silenced, to be forced to make yourself smaller. And I don't ever want to go back to that. I choose to be loud instead, because that is how I show my strength. And as rights are being taken away, as bodily autonomy is being revoked from people across the country, I feel compelled to be loud in whatever way I can. And it just so happens that my way is campy as fuck. Yeah. So that's the more macroscopic perspective on the piece. And but we're not done here, because there's also a more personal take and a more personal, specifically to me as an individual, that I want to talk about when it comes to this piece. So the flower motif is something that I've actually been working with for a while when it comes to different outfits and designs and projects. As I mentioned earlier, the jacket that I used is one that I had originally used back for prom in 2019. 2019 prom really meant a lot to me, more than I gave it credit for at the time, because that was a big event. That was the event where I really started to play around with gender expression. I was still identifying as a woman at the time, but the seeds had been planted for me that would ultimately lead to my identity as a non-binary person. I'm sorry, I'm tripping up on my words. I'm not used to talking to a camera. Okay. We got this. Okay. So the jacket has a lot of sentimental value to me because it's from an event where I really started to play around with gender expression and identity. You know, I had always been a little butch, you know? Yeah, but it was hard for me to come to terms with being non-binary, and it was hard for me to accept it and to come out to the people around me, because I was so scared. I was terrified that they would just laugh at my face and turn me away. But this event was where, as a creator and as a non-binary person, I decided to say, fuck all that. I am not going to live in fear, and I am going to live my honest truth. So I had the vision in my head of like flowers on a jacket, and like just something about the dichotomy of the nature imagery and the business imagery, you know, something modern with something that's timeless, and just the shapes, the silhouettes, you know, playing around with things that are jarring, things that in theory are opposites, but when you put them together you can create something that hasn't been like created before. I wanted something fresh, and I wanted to execute my vision. This was my first real attempt at it. And so I took some flower fabric from other pieces, and I cut them out, and then I arranged them and sewed them onto the back of the jacket. And it was nice. I had a good time. I loved it. And it was the start of what I would elevate with other projects. It was the beginning. But at the time, I wasn't quite satisfied. Sorry, car, whatever. I wasn't quite satisfied with my execution of the theme. Because, you know, I was happy, I thought it was nice, but I wanted to do more with it. However, I was reaching my limits at that time as a creator, and I needed to push that boundary in order to get something that I was really satisfied with, to actually bring my vision to fruition. So, the flower motif would return again. Pride, I think 2021. 2021, I created a jacket that used flowers along the sleeves. Now, these flowers, instead of just being sewn on as, you know, fabric, they were three-dimensional, like, you know, fabric flowers, like the silk kind, the kind that you get at like fucking Michael's or whatever. So I sewed those on by hand with like needle and thread, and oh my god, it took forever, but it was awesome, so I don't regret it. Unfortunately, moths ended up eating that jacket. I was very sad to see it go, but alas, I did learn many things from that project. 1, sewing flowers is a bitch. 2, flowers can be deconstructed and broken down for parts. It wasn't perfect, But it was once again a pushing. It was once again me elevating my craft, refining my skills as a creator, and I got a little bit closer to executing my vision. Okay, still with me? Regarding this piece for Pride 2022, by incorporating the jacket from 2019 and using the knowledge that I learned from my project in 2021, it's kind of a testament to my personal growth as both a creator and as a person as I came into my own with my identities. It feels like going back in time and giving me from 2019 a hug and saying, keep going, you got this. Which is something I really, really needed to hear back then. It feels like I'm honoring myself. So, in summation, this piece that I put together for Pride is both it's a protest, it's advocacy, it's awareness. It's a testament to my skills as a creator over the years. It's a celebration of the community at large and a celebration of my own strength and voice and advocacy for my own identities. This piece means a lot to me. It is one of the most technically advanced things I've worked on. It is one of the most thematically advanced things I've worked on. And I'm very proud of what I've done. And I really wanted to share it with you. Also, don't mind the form. It's a dress form. Happy Pride, y'all. I will be making more things in the future, so take care and stay safe.